from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today I'm very pleased joining me, Rob Matzkin. Rob, thank you very much for being here with me today. And, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. The way I love to do it, my audience know by now, I don't like to spend much time introducing people because I know for a fact that no one can introduce anyone better than themselves. So I will leave the floor to you, Rob. A little bit more about you, your journey, what you're currently up to, and then we can start the discussion from there.
Well, thanks so much. It's funny. I was just thinking about that today on my own podcast of how to reinvent the format that nobody wants to listen to all those different things. And I'll say this, right? My background, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've had 16 different companies. I bailed quite a few times. I've also had multiple different exits. These days, I do a lot in the consulting world. I help startups raise money, go product market fit, get to, over $1 million in MRR. Things like that is what I specialize in. I also happen to do a purpose-driven summit for entrepreneurs, and I'm known across the globe as a hyper connector, and I do a lot in that space in sports, art, entertainment, and business opportunities. It wasn't always easy for me, and I grew up dyslexic, and I didn't read till I was 10. So my entrepreneurship journey is because I see the world differently, and so that's me in a nutshell.
Great. Thank you again for being here with me today, Rob.
Of course.
You mentioned multiple things that honestly attracted my attention to ask.
Okay.
So, being, the one who loves to connect people, there must be kind of a mission or maybe something that happened that pushed you that way to play the role of the super connector.
No, I'll say this. I didn't know it was a superpower of mine until a few years ago. And I literally meet somebody and I go, oh my God, you got to meet this person. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, have you know, and it's just these people. Why? It's actually really simple. It's a little selfish. Why is it selfish? Because both people owe me one. Because I never do a little bit, right? I'm being cheeky, but in the sense that I'm not going to do a favor for somebody to make an intro. I'm making an intro because it's mutually beneficial.
Of course.
And that together is everybody. Rising tide raises all boats, and I just love it. And the fact that I can do it, I do, and it's also karmatic, right? From a selfish perspective, like there's a karma to it that givers gain. So yeah, that's why.
Yeah, cool. But, you've been an entrepreneur yourself, and now, you're helping other startups also as well.
Yeah.
So choosing, also the tough road of entrepreneurship is not something easy,
No,
especially knowing, all the challenges that you had. But still you wanted to be there, and now you want to help others in this.
I
To
do.
me, this is, comes from a passion to help
Hmm.
other people. And this is why I told you, like what could have pushed you over there. But regardless, I am, kind of believe like you that it's a mutual benefit for everyone. But
Yeah.
that comes with time, of course. Now, tell me a little bit more about the the startup that you have done before, and how the journey was like. Was it like, of course, not all smooth, but probably there was like some key moments that also shaped the way you think today about like other startups, like about other ventures, and you share that with founders that might come to you and ask for help, some for advice also as well.
That was a huge question. Could
Yes.
you could you give me a little more bite size? I think that was 8 questions in one.
Yeah, so basically, let me start from here. So what I'm trying to say, Rob, like maybe some challenges which were unique to you, but at the time where you were still in your own venture. But once you
Yeah.
went out, you started to figure out that people don't see these challenges beforehand, and then you start to tell them, hey guys, like you need to take care of this, you need to
Yeah.
make sure
Yeah.
like you have done that, if you get my point.
y- Yeah. So I'll say this, right? I've had many different challenges across the board in entrepreneurship, and I'm still running 4 companies right now, by the way. So I definitely don't think I'm no longer being an entrepreneur. And
Yeah.
I'm consulting in dozens. But with all that being said, at the time, maybe I thought all the things I was going through was unique. But the thing about entrepreneurship is everybody wants to think they're unique and they're special and nobody else has done this and they're reinventing the wheel and they have this sexy new product. And all that might be true, but it's all BS, no matter how new or innovative your product is. I don't care if it's the most cutting edge AI, the most quantum this or quantum that. If you're going to have individuals, organizations, or governments buy it, chances are somebody's gone through it. And you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You're not unique. You're not special. Your product might be special, but the situations and challenges you're going through aren't special. They're the challenges that you go through in business. You know, my clients hire me because they realize that I've done it so many times that when you're in this position, you need to get to 100K MRR or you need to get to 10K MRR, whatever it is for you, and you're having trouble finding your first client, or you're having trouble finding your 10th client, or your customer acquisitions to whatever those challenges are. Somebody's gone through it. There's not a playbook, but there's things to do. There's questions to ask. There's a mentality to develop, right? And the biggest thing that I've changed, which I think is to get to a point of wisdom on this question, is I used to go from a way of being of I know the answer and I'm smart enough to figure this out. I'm the smartest person in the room, to going, I don't know the answer. How can I test quickly and effectively to find out answers, not even answers, data, to allow me to make educated decisions versus guesses?
Exactly. This is, the point that I wanted you to explain. And sorry, sometimes I ask maybe kind of loaded questions, and I'm happy you ask me to open them up a little bit slowly also as well.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things, talking about startups, and I know you guide companies also in the journey of scaling and capital raising. Um, I know it's a cliche question, but to you, being, ready for that moment to say that, okay, now I am going to meet investors to take the company to the next phase. What usually founders miss here in order to take that next step?
Everything. It's either one of two things. They have delusional grandeur or they're like way too early. So by the way, are you picking up? I hope you're not picking up too much background noise. But no, without being cheeky, right? So there's really 2 different phases, right? People aren't actually ready and they think they're ready, or they probably waited too long and are holding on too much equity. But at the end of the day, to be investor ready, right? It's such a loaded question because there's many different types of investors. There's friends and family, there's pre-seed, there's seed and A. Friends and family do invest in you because they know you. That's it.
Right.
Pre-seed, they might know you, but they like the idea. They have no data. Seed, there's some sort of data. You have something built, but they trust you, they trust the idea, and they trust the data. Series A, they trust the data. It's up and to the right. More money means more success, right? But the reason I say all this to answer this question is know what stage you're in. Everybody's delusional that they think they're in the Series A or seed or bridge to Series A. You're not. Probably you're pre-seed. The problem with being pre-seed and having no data and having nothing there is after Silicon Valley Bank's collapsed 2.5 years ago, is nobody's in pre-seed anymore. Everybody says they're pre-seed, but they're really seed. We need data. So the biggest thing people to do to get ready for fundraising, if you're not going friends and family, is how do you empirically show that there's something there, that you have even a sign-up list, even people, some sort of indication that says this is going to be really successful. I found a market that loves this, something.
Rob, because you mentioned this, do you think that part of the issue problem is, I don't want to blame all the founders. Some, some of them.
We can
They
blame
take,
them. Let's call them out by name. Let's
yeah,
call John and Jack and whoever and Jim
yeah,
and
whoever.
Jose.
They think more transactional than strategic, in a sense that, okay, I just need, I believe, to your point, like, hey, like I have achieved, the impossible, and now it's time for me to go and raise whatever this, you know, the round name is, seed, series A, series A, and they think about this relationship with investors as transactional, just for the sake that they raise money, maybe they have a nice PR, versus thinking about it, okay, like let's really look at the business. Why do we really to raise actually the fund, and who are the possible, you know investors that we should talk to? I, I see this kind of a gap that founders, we can or we cannot, I'm not sure what you would say, blame them or not, because they want to also do things fast. Like I've seen like founders who want like to to take these giant steps and skip some of the things, just because they're saying technology is moving fast, competition is moving fast, and I need to move fast also as well.
Well, yeah, it all comes from stress and fear, right? It all comes from stress and fear. Stress that they don't have the time, and fear that if they don't raise today, they're not going to have the resources to win, right? And what they ignore because they're in a stress and fear response is really simple, that investors don't give a shit about you. They care about their returns. Your job is to let them like you, know you, and trust you. But that's not why they're going to give you money. Only if they're your friends and family around will that be the case. A seed investor is going to give you money because they're going to get 100 times return. Show them that, right? The investment rounds, it's all about your valuation is risk versus reward, right?
Right.
How risky are you and how much reward are they going to get? You're going to be $1 billion idea and your valuation is $10 million. Okay, they could see 100x. Cool. They'll invest. And they think it's almost a guarantee that you're going to get to $1 billion. They agree with that thesis. If they agree with that, they'll invest. It really sometimes is that simple, but everybody loses the fact, no, you got to fund my idea. I got to do this, the allocate. An investor needs to like you, knows you, and trust you. Trust that you're not so risky and that their bet to get 100x more to 1,000x more is almost a sure thing. And if they believe that, they'll probably invest. And if they don't, they probably won't.
Beyond showing investors that what they're saying, what that they can prove, that they are worth that evaluation. um is it like only the traction? Is it like anything they can do beyond just showing some traction?
Well,
What
well,
about like, what about like vision? What about like I don't know, like what are the other things that you see, you know founders or like executives, team leaders in companies raising do hear wrongly that actually they should come more prepared when they talk to the investors?
So one, it's very clear you're an engineer by background,
Yes.
because you're looking for very tactical, detailed answers based on non-specific parameters. So it's nearly impossible for me to answer that question, and I don't have the answer for you. But I'll say this, right? I speak in generalities, specifically because I don't know specifics, and the specifics always change, right? But the best way that you could come prepared is come with data, come with, so what are the characteristics that an investor is really going to look for, right? Beyond what I just said, it's, are you coachable? Will their voice matter, right? Are you going to be a good, trusted steward of their money? These things nobody thinks about or talks about, right? Because it really comes down to, do I trust you with my money to execute the shit out of this? Right? Prove that.
Right.
This is story. Everybody misses that, right? Yeah, come with this data or that data, but don't lie. Be truthful. Tell a great story. But, and be coachable. I think those are the things that I could contribute to this conversation that most people won't say. And if somebody wants really tactical answers, they'll pick up the phone and call me, and I'll give you tactics based on your situation, what's going on. Because as much as I said, nobody's unique, based on where you're at in your situation, different advice applies. I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but that's the best I can give you.
No, so what I try to do, because you were right, like I come from an engineering background, so I try to, as much as I can, immerse myself in place of someone who might be, wondering about this. Now,
But the other thing, Mehmet, like I could go, I have a webinar. It's an hour and a half just on how to build a presentation deck, right? It's like, and there's like 80 points to it. So it's
Right.
like, I don't know how to give you a soundbite in 10 seconds on that too.
Yeah, but like but just I'm asking, there might be, there's 80 points, let's say, but out of these 80, there will be like some priorities, like must have, like okay, all of them they must have, but there must be like super priority on that, Rob. This is what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
Nevertheless,
don't lie or manipulate, and be honest and truthful and coachable while you're doing it. Is like, that's the secret sauce, and nobody does that is actually it. It's not it's not tactical, or it's not technical, it's tactical. It's who you're being.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. Now, this is why
Yeah.
I ask you, like, if I go back to my question, so I said
Yeah.
like the mistake is they think tactical, they don't think strategy in like a
Yeah.
long-term vision. Now,
Yeah.
the other thing, you repeated the word data a lot of times.
Yeah.
So so, so this data, right? Without it, actually, they are talking nothing, because they might claim a lot of things. They might say like, we have this, we have that, but here is the data that they need to prepare. And this is actually one of the answers I was looking for, Rob. And you answered my question. My way of doing it, I give a little bit hard time to my guests sometimes. Um, but like talking about the data, so I want to stop on the data. Are there like some, let's call them early signals that the data is not enough? Maybe they have some data, but it's not enough for them to go and talk seriously to investors, and they are trustworthy, don't get
Well, there is no such thing as too early or too late. It's just how you spin it, right? And it's a sliding scale. It's like, talk to people as quick as you want. It's all about a matter of time. But your data is going to be more impressive or less impressive. And quite frankly, you'll never have enough in data for an investor, right? If they're going to invest in their data alone, you could have 100% growth month on month, and an investor would be like, still come up with a reason not to invest. The data isn't everything, but it shows the right investor enough. Because what is the data about? It's about de-risking the investment. So the more you de-risk the investment, the higher your odds of success are, right? And the more you de-risk it, the more investors are going to be available to you in that risk category, which is why I say there's a difference between pre-seed and seed, because pre-seed is hyper risky. Seed is a lot less risky, probably an order of magnitude less, which is why it's a matter of getting into a different realm. And then when you're in that realm, you have a range of people that your data is your ticket of entry. And now you're in this room. Okay, the data is now irrelevant because you're at the right match, right? Now it's about everything else. It's your entry ticket to the bar. Everything's like dating. Raising money, it's like dating, right? Really, sales, it's like dating, right?
Right.
Just to be, you have the battle is just getting in the right room. And now it's about convincing the sexy girl in the room, or whatever your flavor is, that you're the right person. But the data is the entry ticket.
Right. So how much, because I know like also you work with startups and companies in that field, how much you think AI and the hype that AI created uh, contributed in creating kind of a confusion when it comes to taking the decision of what is our next step, whether that is fundraising, whether that is like scaling, you know in other places, introducing a new set of services, products. um, how the AI affected this.
How how AI affected what exactly?
How affected the clarity of the executives in that company who are on the verge maybe to fundraise, maybe to scale the company into new geographies. So the AI did something for startups and even for big companies. How you saw it affecting their decisions?
Oh, I think it completely confused everybody's decision because now they just started talking all this malarkey about AI and how they're an AI company when in fact they're not. And most companies that are building AIs are building IP on infrastructure that they don't necessarily own, which is problematic because they may or may not own their data. But that's a whole tangent. But so I think there's two camps with AI, right? There's the AI sensationalists and the AI doubters, right? And I don't think either are really correct. I think as of right now, the way I see things, it's an enablement tool, right? It's an efficiency tool, right? It's game changing in the way, and the fourth industrial revolution is game changing in the way that we operate. I think there are a lot less pure play AI companies out there than we realize. I think every company is going to need to be enabled by it and supported by it and utilize it. But in many ways, from an investor perspective now, it's not, how do I say this? If you say we're an AI enabled company, you better be. What are you doing right now if you're not, right? But if you say you're an AI company, well, you better have something really unique and special with a moat to be there, right? So it's a double-edged sword is my point when it comes to fundraising, right? Like I have clients that are truly building out cutting edge AIs that are going to their goal is to completely upend medicine, right? And healthcare. And the accuracy and the results that it's delivering is truly something special. And they are an AI company, but it still comes down to, in my mind, how well they could execute and earn money, right? Because ultimately, the core IP at some point will be commoditized.
So what is the mode becoming currently, Rob, in Europe?
What's the moat becoming? I don't know. That's what's hard. That's what's scary right now, is that we don't necessarily have the moats that we used to have, right? So the moat, in my mind, from a business perspective, is access to clients, is the business side of really being, the relationships that you have with your clients, the living to your clients. Because a lot of times for a client to shift to a different product, that product's going to be 10x better, right? So it's about moving quick and acquiring your segment of the market. That's going to be your moat. And it's not going to be the idea of the 2010s having a pure technological moat that nobody else can IP, that nobody else could create, the special sauce. Even for the last 5-10 years, that's really been a myth that investors are looking for, but now it's about executing fast with as few resources as you possibly can to get as far as you can. And the other thing, in my mind, fundraising, if you could raise $10 million in 3 months, go for it. But the idea of spending 9 months on a fundraise right now and doing an all or nothing fundraise, I think isn't very strategic. I'm advising my clients in many ways, what can we close in 2 months? What amount can we close in 2 months? And then what amount can we close in 2 months after that? And doing smaller, quicker rounds, because that aren't necessarily an amount of money that are going to last 18 months, but that we could deploy in 6 months, because that's the money we need now. But this idea of raising money and then not having to raise money for a year and then raising money again was always a fallacy. You're always raising money, but it's really, I think, more of a constant thing now because of the speed that we're at, and the speed of AI, and the amount of what it's really doing is how quickly we move. Doesn't allow, fundraising hasn't caught up to it because it's such a long process. So we need to hack that. That's the challenge today. It's changed.
Let me shift gears and shift this to the other side of the table. From investors' perspective, and I know you run a fund also as well, Rob, what should we be looking at currently? Like, of course, everyone say AI. Yeah, but AI is a lot of things. I did a couple of, I would say quick searches and researches. So there's a lot of talk, for example, now about like verticalized AI, like AI which focus on certain verticals rather than, anything, as you mentioned before, that can be commoditized. Someone is talking about, the underlying, uh, I would say, infrastructure that empowers the AI somehow. Like maybe not necessarily the LLMs, anything that works to make the LLM works better, right? So investors today, how they should be evaluating startup
Yeah.
that comes to them.
So I'll say this, my investment thesis is, I know I'm not smart enough to actually answer that question, but my fund thesis is I invest in government companies in deep tech before they get their first government contract, based on what I could assess the likelihood of them getting a government contract is based on my knowledge. That's what I invest in. So it's a very binary thing for me. So I'm investing off of a slightly different criteria. Now, with that caveat being said, what I invest in, I'm a business guy, right? So I'm looking at the numbers, how they're acquiring their clients, how effectively they're going to be at that. Red flags for me is, I'll figure that out when I get the money, or I'll hire that person, or, hard pass for me and stuff like that. Right? So do they have the team, the knowledge, the expertise, the strategy to already do that? That's what I'm looking for, right? Because the product, I'm also looking, where are they at with product market fit? Do I believe that they have actual market for this product that will love it, right? And most people get confused by that. Product market fit is, you have this product and people are like, take my money, take it. Charge me 3 times as much. Take my money, take it. I want this. I have to have this. Take it. Right? Do they have that? If they have that, cool. How long will they have that for? Will anybody come and usurp them? Will they be able to execute this? How quickly could all those things, right? But that's the way I look at it. And less from a technical perspective. I do my technical research, but it's more of a checkbox versus it's a yes, no versus
Binary, as you said.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I know also when you work with, the company that, you support and you assist. So you focus also with them a little bit on, the leadership part of this journey.
Hmm.
So I know for a fact that it's really tough times, right? Because things, as we mentioned, moving fast, and we know like sometimes, and we mentioned a little bit before, people rarely admit, that they're wrong. So how you advise your clients to change this, to start admitting, you know, that we need help. We need to change what we're doing. Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's being authentic, right? It's being coachable, right? It's not one thing. It's a personal growth journey, is what that takes, right? My journey's taken 15 something years to be vulnerable and authentic, right? And letting go of my ego, right? But being the way I get it out of people is I'm vulnerable and trustworthy myself, and people are reciprocate, right? But it depends. A lot of times the world doesn't show us that we could always talk into our fears. And we could be vulnerable like that to investors or not. It might be weakness, it might not. It's a hard place to be, but finding that Goldilocks and having those conversations, it's kind of what I navigate with my clients, right? To make sure we're successful.
Other than this, any, of course, you mentioned like this is something you said at the beginning, which I don't believe in playbooks, right? So I believe like in adopting what works for us. But
Hmm.
um, one of the things that I noticed, talking to a lot of founders and talking to, a lot of my also, guests on the podcast, um, there's something that happens. I'm not sure if you have had this before, Rob, yourself, or you've seen it, where I start as an executive to ignore even my health. I start to ignore even my, sanity, just to show that, hey, I'm a high performer. I need to prove to people, like I can still do it, and
Hmm.
they get the burnout, right? Why they should avoid this?
Why should I worry their mental health, their physical health? I mean, it's miserable. It's a miserable way of being to be burnt out, right? And burnout, I think, is many different things, right? It's a very loaded term, but burnout just means you're overwhelmed, you're stressed, you're not happy, right? You don't have balance, right? You're not smiling as much, right? My friends, my family, they know when I'm burnt out, they know when I'm stressed, they know when I'm happy. When I'm happy, my life is richer. I'm goofy, I'm jovial, I'm joking around, right? When I'm burnt out,
But
I'm over this. Yeah.
yes, sorry, no, but they tell you some. I've seen people. They tell you, I'm still passionate about what I'm doing. I'm still, like I want to keep doing this, but it's like that they need someone to give them the reality check. Yes, like you're passionate, but you need also to go and, I don't know, do some rituals, practice. I don't know, like, right. So
I mean,
they get
there's
they
many
go in.
tactical things. Yeah, there's many
Yeah.
tactical things of how to solve burnout, but ultimately, if you're like you're saying, if you're structurally broken with it, right? It's like Ariana Huffington talked about this a lot about 10 years ago, right? There's this whole myth or allure of like sleeping as little as possible and working as hard as you can and showing and putting in the hours, right? I actually just wrote a LinkedIn post about this that I'll probably post in the next week or two yesterday. And it's like, I want to, I predetermine when I start my work week, how long I'm going to work, how much time I'm going to put into work. I predetermine it. My goal that week is to fit in as much output as I can in that allotted time. And I put boundaries on that and I put guideposts on that because that's how I run a marathon. If I work until I drop or literally work until I drop, it's not sustainable. It's a sprint. Right? I could do that for a week or two or three. It's not sustainable. My health, my happiness, they'll deteriorate, right? Like Elon breaks the mold on this, but he's literally a robot and he's not human, literally, right? And I don't know if people really want his life, right? They might think they do, but I don't think they do, right? And so for the most of us, like, you know, for us mere mortals, I think the best thing we could do is have a rich life that we focus on the day to day, because that's what it is. That's what it's about.
Right. Yeah. I'm not sure like how people, I didn't see someone like, I don't know someone who works like Elon, but if I don't know if I see someone one day, I would like to ask, how they would be able to feel fulfillment because, yeah, sometimes they tell you, yeah, but I love what I do, I love working hard, but there's some boundaries
But
and limits, right?
but I was being cute when I said Elon was a robot. Elon is on the spectrum tremendously. It's not debatable. He's admitted, he said such, right? So he literally doesn't function and see the world like most of us. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people have. So it's not exactly the pillar to be looking at. And what we want to look at is how do we have this rich life that is plentiful that, if we take a step back, I think a lot of entrepreneurs get caught up in the sense that I'll make my money in 5 years and I'll retire. And one day, someday I'll get there. And I'm there to just sprint and suck it up to do it. And guess what? I did it for 10 years and I did pretty well, but it didn't come up and I didn't retire. And I'm still at it. And I see my friends and they're like, I'm in founder mode now. I'm working 16-hour days and traveling the world. I'm on, and I'm like, and they're just like running around the world for investment and everything else, which is great. But, and I applaud them to it. And I, wish them the best, but I don't think that's sustainable for life. I know my career is entrepreneurship and fundraising and all this stuff. I'm not, I personally can't do that. I applaud you if you're in your 20s and you want to do that, but I'm telling you, there's also a better way.
Um, when we are younger, yeah, we claim that we can do a lot of things, and then we hit, the wall, and we get the reality that yes, we need to take the step back and understand that, you know, some stuff is doable, some stuff not doable. But to your point on the spectrum, there are people who are capable of doing this, and I always tell people like this is why, Rob, I tell people like you can have a role model, right? But don't say I want to become like this person.
Yeah.
Maybe you can utilize some of the tips and tricks that they would give you, but you would never be the same person. My
Right.
theory is my theory is, you know, like you're tied to the place you are, geography. You're tied also to the time you're living in as well. So you cannot like be someone else. You can learn
Yeah.
from them, but you cannot be the same person.
Exactly. And here's the biggest challenge with all of it. Any of these individuals that we're reading about, I guarantee they have a publicist. I guarantee that you're not actually seeing the inside story. You're seeing the story that somebody wants you to read. And we're not actually having empirical data to learn from. We're learning from an embellished make-believe story of what they want you to see. And
Is it like when I see just the distilled cup of coffee, but I don't know like how it was roasted and where it was coming from, right?
yeah, but it's like, and then you make believe everything else. And it's like, that's not actually how that coffee was made.
Why, and who's doing this, Rob?
Who? Everyone. There isn't a public figure out there that is telling you how it really is.
But do they do it on purpose, or is it just like because every public figure have done it
Okay.
before?
Okay. Let's go on Instagram right now. Right now. Go find your favorite person and you tell me whether that question is valid or not, whether doing it on purpose. Are they showing you their real life? It's human nature to show you the sunshine and roses, not the vulnerability and the ugly.
True. But
Period.
people are taking this bait.
Yeah, but it's entertainment. It's not education. It's not wisdom. It's not guidance of how to live your life. It's the sunshine and roses. I stopped posting because it's toxic for me and toxic for everybody else. I don't want to, like, if I post all my greatest moments of my life on Insta, because that's what people want to see, amazing, but then my life isn't the greatest moments. My life is my life. It's the ups and the downs. If I don't share the downs, the uglies, the borings, this, that, you can't actually learn from me. You can't actually see any of it, right? Because all you're seeing is the highlights, right? I don't tell people as much anymore that I live in Miami Beach. I live on the ocean. I take my lunch breaks. I go kite surf, right? In the summer, right now I'm in Brazil. I'm kite surfing every day. When I get done with work, I'll go kite surf. I'll go kite surf for an hour and a half. Everybody hears Brazil and they go, oh, you're living the life. You're not working. You must be like working an hour a day and you're like retired and sitting with your drinking like mimosas on the beach. One, I don't even drink. Two, I do it for my sport. I work a 40 to 50-hour work week, but I do it remote and I do it great. But if all you hear is you're in Brazil kite surfing, you don't hear anything else. And it's the
Right.
same thing with all these public figures. You hear that and you're like, I want to do that and I want that life. Everybody's like, here's another example. Everybody wants the jet setter life. If you're literally have to own a private jet to get everywhere you need to be, and your schedule is that tight, and your friends are only in certain places in the world, and you literally have to get on a jet 7 hours privately to get to them, and you're running around the world, and that's the only way you can manage your life. Is that really a life that you want? Yeah, it's going to be glamorous, but I spent 2 years raising a fund. I've been in front of some of the most amazing, extraordinary humans, some of the wealthiest humans on this planet. They still put their pants legs on one leg at a time, right? And I'll tell you this, they're not necessarily the most happy individuals or fulfilled individuals. So to look at what they're posting and what their publicist is posting as gospel is what to learn from, I would implore you not to.
I agree, and I want to add one more thing. Like you mentioned, like Instagram and their personal life. Also, like there are like another set of some, public figures that actually they started it from, let's say, the sixth floor, right? And they show you, hey, like, you have to do this and you have to do that to be successful. And they are actually talking to the people who are on the first floor, right? So they don't tell them that actually they started from a good place to do something, convincing them that actually, like, yeah, we struggled, but we never saw their struggle. And we know they're coming from, you know, banking investment backgrounds. We know that they are
Yeah.
coming from good jobs, and then they tell you, hey, like, yeah, we hated the corporate job and we became an entrepreneur. Give me a break. You didn't start from scratch. Like, this is
Yeah.
my own personal view on it, Rob.
Oh, 100%, right? There's a reason that they're doing it.
Yeah.
Some people, I don't know why. Some people I do. And what am I getting? I have so many thoughts with that. There's also a difference between training and coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has a 12-step process to walk you through. I'd be wary of that, right? It's great, but it's not unique to you. Coaching, it's like, how do I work with you to get you somewhere? I do both, right? But you want the individualized thing. And a lot of the people on Instagram or the news, right? The news is very much hollowed out, and segments that they do, anything you read on business in the news is written by a PR team. It's written by a company to sell you something, to manipulate you.
Right.
It really is. So there's always this angle, the point. I think like this, I see it, and I think it's great, but if that's where you're learning and trying to educate yourself, news is more, in reality, news today is more entertainment than anything else. I think the biggest challenge we have is how to stay current on what's really happening in our world without the sensationalization and the entertainment portion of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. Rob on this. Rob, tell me a little bit more about the summit, the Bond Summit. Like, how did it started it, and
Yeah.
when does it happen, and who are like the people who usually join?
Yeah. So I started it actually selfishly in the sense that I wanted to be around more individuals that were purpose driven, truly up to something, and really had a great heart that wanted to help everybody else around them too. And, I've spoken a lot about the Bond Summit recently. And what it really comes down to for me is how do we get behind each other to really support each other? Not network, not do something for each other, but how do we elevate each other? And the whole purpose of the summit is bring the most amazing people in a room that I want to spend time with, who elevate me. And how do I elevate them with the right content, with the right way of looking at the world? So our members are really entrepreneurs up to change, and change could be in tech, in business, in life, but really up to transforming themselves and their businesses. We do it twice a year. Our next one's in Atlanta in October. And yeah, it's a great time.
Great. Um, you know, I will be honest. I love when my guests challenge me, Rob, and you did today, because I feel more, grounded, to be honest with you. And I'm so happy, like you counter the questions to me also sometimes. No, and I'm serious about it and transparent about it, because I love dialogues, and I like, to be, two of us talking to each other.
Yeah.
And, not to challenge in a sense like I will beat you, you will beat me. No,
Yeah.
I think the discussion also sparks, curiosity. Like this is always my opinion, not only for me, at least. I'm not sure about you, but also for others. So thank you for for challenging me today, Rob. I loved, talking to you. Finally, before we close, where people can get in touch if they want to work with you also as well. The best place to find you. I know not Instagram for sure.
Yeah. Well, I am on Instagram, but I'm
Okay.
probably, yeah. But Rob Matzkin at LinkedIn, Rob Matzkin at Gmail, robmatzkin.com. You Google me, you'll find me. Would love to support you in any of the endeavors that we spoke about today, but really appreciate you having me on, Mehmet, and challenging me as well. So
No,
thanks so much.
always my pleasure. Thank you so much, Rob, and giving me the time. I know, like, also the schedule uh, get busy sometimes, and you made it today. This is how I end my episode. This is for my audience. All the links that Rob mentioned, they will be in the show notes, so you don't have to look for them. And as usual, if you just discovered this podcast by luck, as I say always, thank you for passing by. Give me a favor. If you didn't subscribe yet, subscribe, share it with your friends and colleagues. What I'm trying to do, speaking with people like Rob, to spark curiosity, to get people to think like, what's our purpose? What can we do next? And of course, sometimes we talk something informative, sometimes we talk topics like today, which are debatable with Rob. So I hope you enjoyed it. And if you are one of the people who keeps coming again and again, thank you very much for your support. Thank you for taking the show this year really to a next level. We're having a moment where we are trending in multiple uh, countries at the same time. We are in the top 200 podcast charts across multiple countries. I know, like I've said it multiple times, but the thing is, we're adding list of countries every week. So thank you very much wherever you are listening or watching this podcast. And as I say always, stay tuned for the episode very soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.